Hi there, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the daily podcast where we take a closer look at the crimes and justice milestones that happened this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is January 1st. For many, New Year's Day is a time for celebration and fresh starts. But for two young sisters, Amina and Sarah Said, this day in 2008 marked the tragic end of their lives. On that day, the sisters were brutally murdered in Texas. Their father, Yaser Said, quickly emerged as the prime suspect, leading to a nationwide manhunt that spanned over a decade. This case gripped the nation, raising tough questions about family dynamics, cultural clashes, and the devastating impact of abuse. Today, we'll explore who Amina and Sarah were, the events that led to their death, and the intense investigation, plus the long journey toward justice. Amina was 18 and Sarah was 17. They were two bright and ambitious sisters living in Louisville, Texas. They shared a home with their father, Yaser, who was originally from Egypt, and their American-born mother, Patricia Owens. Amina was the outgoing one. She was sharp and determined, with dreams of becoming a doctor. Sarah was equally driven, but had a softer, more bubbly personality. She wanted to go into law enforcement to help other people. The bond between the sisters was extraordinary. Friends often described them as inseparable, and they were always leaning on each other for strength. But behind their bright smiles and their close-knit bond was a deeply disturbing reality. Yaser was controlling, manipulative, and abusive. He imposed strict rules on the girls, forbidding them from dating or spending time with male friends. Their friends later revealed that Amina and Sarah confided in them about their father's threats and violence. This wasn't just strict parenting, this was fear, plain and simple. In the weeks before their murders, Amina and Sarah made a desperate attempt for freedom. With their mother Patricia's help, they fled Texas for Oklahoma to try to start fresh with their boyfriends. And it seemed like they might finally escape Yaser's grip and live the lives that they had always dreamed of. But things took a devastating turn. Patricia changed her mind and persuaded the girls to come home for the holidays. She assured them that Yaser had forgiven them and wanted to start over. Friends later recall that the sisters were reluctant to do this and, frankly, afraid. Amina confided to one friend, "If I go back, he's going to kill us." On New Year's Eve 2007, they returned to Texas. The tension at home was unbearable. Amina refused to even stay the night there, instead choosing to sleep at her boyfriend's house. Sarah, however, stayed at the home with her parents. Then, on New Year's Day 2008, Yaser told his daughters that he wanted to take them out to dinner to talk about their future. Amina didn't want to go, but she eventually agreed, likely fearing what would happen if she dared to refuse. The three got into Yaser's taxi, and he began driving. But instead of heading to the restaurant, Yaser took them to a secluded location in Irving, Texas. There, in a horrifying act of violence, he pulled out a gun and shot both of his daughters multiple times inside the cab. Amina died instantly, but Sarah, somehow still alive, managed to call 911. Her last words, "Help, my father shot me, I'm dying," were captured on the recording. Police arrived quickly to the scene, but they were too late to save the sisters. And by the time they got there, Yaser had fled, abandoning his cab near a hotel. Inside, the authorities found the bodies of Amina and Sarah, and evidence that left no doubt to them that Yaser was their killer. The murders sent shockwaves through the community. Amina and Sarah's friends were heartbroken, of course, and they struggled to process how such a horrific thing could happen. Meanwhile, law enforcement launched an all-out manhunt for Yaser, who had vanished without a trace. Authorities quickly issued a warrant for his arrest on 2 counts of capital murder. Early on, they suspected that he might have fled to Egypt, relying on family connections to evade capture. But they couldn't ignore the possibility that he was still in the U.S., hiding with the help of relatives or sympathizers. In 2014, the FBI even added Yaser to their 10 most wanted fugitives list, offering a $100,000 reward for information. Investigators chased hundreds of leads, but Yaser managed to stay hidden. His elusiveness fueled the speculation that he did, in fact, have people helping him. Former FBI agent Christopher Combs said, quote, "This wasn't a case of someone disappearing into thin air. We believe he was being actively harbored by those close to him," end quote. Finally, in August 2020, after nearly 12 years on the run, authorities got their break. Acting on a tip, the FBI found Yaser hiding in a home in Justin, Texas, just 30 miles from the crime scene. Relatives had been sheltering him for years. Yaser was arrested without resistance, ending one of the longest manhunts in recent memory. Yaser Said's trial began in August 2022, nearly 14 years after the murder. The delays in justice weighed heavily on the proceeding as friends, family, and advocates filled the courtroom every single day. The trial drew international attention not just because of the crime's brutality, but also because of its association with honor killings, a practice where violence is justified in the name of family honor. Prosecutors faced the challenge of reconstructing a case so many years later. They relied on forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and the history of abuse that had defined the Said household. The courtroom was tense, with emotions running high as Yaser finally faced the judgment of a jury. The prosecution, led by Assistant District Attorney Lauren Black, laid out a clear case for premeditated murder. She argued that Yaser killed his daughters because he believed that they had dishonored him by dating and seeking independence. Black told the jury, quote, "This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a cold, calculated act by a man who prioritized his twisted sense of honor over the lives of his daughters," end quote. The prosecution presented powerful evidence, including Sarah's 911 call. Her dying words, "Help, my dad shot me," echoed through the courtroom, leaving many in tears. Witnesses testified about Yaser's history of abuse and the fear he instilled in his daughters. It was a damning case that they had against him. So it came as no surprise that after just 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a unanimous verdict. He was guilty of capital murder. Yaser Said was sentenced to life in prison without parole, which ensured that he would never be out to harm anyone again. After everything was over outside the courtroom, Patricia Owens shared mixed emotions. She said, quote, "Justice was served, but it doesn't bring my girls back. I'll never stop missing them." The murders of Amina and Sarah sparked conversations nationwide around domestic violence. Advocacy groups continue to use their stories to raise awareness about recognizing warning signs and supporting those who may be in trouble. Friends and family continue to honor Amina and Sarah's memory through memorials and activism. And their story remains a call to action to stand against violence and to just look out for those around us. Yaser Said is serving a life sentence for murdering his daughters. While justice has been served in that regard, their story continues to serve as a reminder to support those in danger. Thank you for tuning in to Day by Day True Crime Stories. Don't forget to subscribe and join me tomorrow for another case. Stay safe and take care of each other.
Hey, you can do it!